All right, bro. We
All
are
right.
here, man. We
We
are
are here.
here. I appreciate you obviously giving us access to this beautiful, what is it, $5.6 million penthouse?
5.8. 5.8.
5.8. This is
Yeah.
freaking gorgeous. Three
At
bedroom, three bath. The dream freaking life. So,
the Dream
with
Life at
that
Pier
being said,
66.
man, let's start from the very beginning. Where was Jonathan born and where did he grow up?
I was born in Colombia. I grew up here in South Florida. So all my life I've been here in South Florida.
And
And
so, how old were you when you moved to South Florida?
I was 4 years old.
4 years old.
4 years old, yeah.
Okay, and how was it for you when you first came here to the States? I mean, you're four, so you don't really remember much.
Yeah,
But how
not
was it for you growing up in South Florida in the, what is it, early 2000s?
early 2000s.
So how was it for you growing up?
It was a nice experience growing up in South Florida. Um, you know, playing outside, skating, a lot of outdoor activities. We didn't really have many tablets or anything, the way the kids do nowadays. So a lot of outdoor time, sports. That was mainly my life growing up, a lot of sports.
So you're part of the era that would put plastic cups in the back tire of the bicycle to make it sound like a motorcycle.
I had friends that did that. I wasn't necessarily, on that, but yeah, I was part of that era where, you would play until the sun came down and then go home and sleep.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Hollywood?
I grew up in the Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, Davie area, Hollandale.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you grew up with your mom?
I grew up with my mom and my dad. Yeah.
Okay, both parents.
Yeah.
Okay. And
yeah.
are your both parents still together?
They're not together, no.
Okay. When did
Yeah.
they separate?
When I was, it's a, they've been on and off, but
Okay.
yeah.
And are you
Doesn't-
close to your dad?
I talk to him. Yeah. I
But
talk
who
to
are
my
you
dad.
closer to, mom?
My mom, yeah, both equally, but yeah, my mother a lot more.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And growing up, man, who were you as a kid? Like, were you the competitive troublemaker? Were you the kind of just you're focused on school? Like who were you as a kid?
I was a pretty badass kid. I'm not gonna lie. But I always stayed in my own lane, did my things, and yeah, just like I said, I never really, how can I put it? Never really like, yeah, I wouldn't even know how to explain it. It was just, I was just living my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were you into growing up? Everybody's into something. I was into wrestling. I watched WWE. I was obviously playing outside all the time. What did you like watching growing up?
I didn't really watch many things growing up. I did play video games growing up. So Nintendo 64,
Nice.
had a Nintendo 64, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. Never really been a big TV fan, and I don't even own a TV till this day. I had one growing up, but right now I don't even turn the TV on. So
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of just the reality is my TV. I like going out there, and that's pretty much how I've always kind of lived my life that way. I can't sit down and watch TV.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're
but I'll
very-
play like video games. But even now, I don't play video games now. But earlier, like in my earlier years, video games, outdoors, going to watch movies. Yeah.
And what kind of movies were you into growing up?
Growing whatever they had at the movie theater, we just pick a movie, and that's really, how I watched either TV or movies growing up.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you have a hero growing up? Like, did you look up to somebody growing up? Everybody looked up to somebody, whether it was an athlete, whether it was an actor, a rapper. Like, who did you grow up like, kind of seen as a hero?
I kind of just, I would say like I always had a character, and it was always like Batman, and I would say like he's out there in the shadows, doing his thing and helping people. So I wouldn't necessarily like say I never really had it. I don't watch sports. I did momentarily when I was playing, 2K. But I never really like had somebody like, wow, I look up to him. I want to be, like him. in a sense. I kind of always had my own style, my own way of doing things. I did respect people, like Cristiano Ronaldo. I played a lot of basketball growing up, a lot of 2K. Dwayne Wade. I met Dwayne Wade in person once.
Nice.
So yeah, kind of just in town, but never really kind of looked up to somebody to say, wow, like I look up to that person.
Okay. By the way,
Yeah.
you mentioned Batman, um, and I noticed that you mentioned Batman a lot here and there. What is it a Batman that like you kind of have an attachment to? Is it the Because Batman is almost like very secretive, very like, he doesn't express himself much. He's not very vulnerable, as I would say, right? Um, so is it because you don't want to be vulnerable, or why would you say you're kind of like close to Batman like that?
I don't know. Well, growing up, the one of the first TVs I did have, I had a little the DVD, or not the DVD, the cassette tapes, and one
Okay.
of the cassette tapes was Batman, so he was always playing in the background. And then same thing. One time, uh, I had a TV. I was about maybe like 17, 18, and the only thing I would have on replay is like a Batman movie. So I don't know. It kind of like always stuck to me. And as the character, like I say, like I am more to myself in a sense. And it's just a character that has always, like stuck with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a specific reason that you're like that, like to yourself, like that, closed off, or?
No, I wouldn't say there's a specific reason. I mean, maybe, like growing up, I've had experiences where it's I, like it's hard to trust. So it's not to say that I'm not open and to meeting new people and being around new people. It's kind of just experiences that I've gone through, through my lifetime. Both in friendships, relationships, where it's kind of like I wouldn't say I necessarily closed myself off, but I'm kind of very selective with who I surround myself with.
Okay.
So
And
it's
how open are you to talking about those experiences?
Yeah, I'm open. It's happened to me in personal, business life, even in real estate. In real estate, I started working with somebody a while back, and one thing I've noticed, and not everybody, because not everybody, there's somebody you could do off a handshake and they keep their word, but there's other people, you do off a handshake and the next thing you know, they go behind your back, and it is what it is. You learn through those experiences, and that's kind of like what makes you be more selective and more, I would say not be so naive.
Now, the reason I ask is because this is a podcast about entrepreneurs, and many people don't realize the things that mold somebody to become an entrepreneur. And a lot of these things go all the way back from your childhood, like the way that we are today, the way that we operate today, the way that our mindset is today, all comes from your upbringing, and
Yeah,
then you mold yourself. So you're a byproduct of all these experiences, and
byproduct of
it's
this.
not a bad thing. It's not it's whatever serves you well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and I mean to this point, and I would say I'm still building. I'm still working every day. I look at it like I'm a soldier on the battlefield, and I got to continue on with my day to move forward. In the battlefield, and that's how I've looked at life. And same thing, the kind of what you just mentioned. It molds you, and I would say like some of those, things that I've experienced, they mold me into being, the person I am more. Like rejection doesn't phase me, so I call, and yesterday I put up like my little call session. It was stop calling, hang up, don't call me. And then the fourth person I talked to, they were like, yo, I'm thinking about doing something. I'm doing it on my own right now, but I would consider, working with you if the circumstances were right down the line. So I'm like, okay, so now that's somebody that I come in here, like to my follow up, but I wouldn't have that follow up if I let the first call get to me. Then if I let the one, two, three people hanging up on me, I wouldn't get to that fourth person. Or that's how I get some of my deals too. The cold calling, the door knocking. I've had people tell me, I'm not interested. I'm like, but they were nice to me on the phone. At the end, they were like not interested, and then I follow up with them, and next thing you know, they're calling me saying, "Hey, John, I want to do something. I'm ready to sell, or I'm ready to do something." So it's pushing past that mental, because I feel like rejection is also mental in a certain way. And with some cases, you just have to like, okay, it's not meant for me. You just let it go. But in other cases, you're like, no, this is like this person needs me. Whether like I mostly view it that way with clients, because people are gonna reject you, And even like the Starbucks guy, I think he got rejected over 1,000 times before somebody said, hey, I'm gonna take a chance on you. So it's just you got to take that mentality of like being relentless and keeping on going, and like each and every single day. And even if you're hurting, you got to wake up and do what you got to do, and you just got to push past that. And then one day, like you're out here like, oh, life is so beautiful. And
By the way, there's
yeah,
so many lessons to what you just said. So many lessons, right? I
yeah,
think all great entrepreneurs experience a lot of rejection.
yeah, a lot of
You ever
rejection, a lot
seen
of
the Ferrari, Lamborghini, the cars of like the guy that invented Lamborghini was rejected by
oh
Ferrari, and then the
yeah,
guy that made whatever it was rejected by Lamborghini. And rejection comes with the territory of building something special, right? Because
a
not everybody's
building,
gonna
yeah,
understand your vision.
correct.
So what middle school, high school did you go to?
I went to Nova and Davie.
Okay, and
Yeah,
did you play sports?
I did not play sports, no,
Okay, so where
not
do
in
you get
school.
that competitive edge from? Like, where did you learn it?
I've always been competitive. Um, as I was younger, racing, um, in the gym, video games. I was, believe it or not, nobody really even knows this about me. Maybe one or two people. I was ranked like 4,000 in free for all in Call of Duty World at War. I was ranked like 4,000 in the world, bro. I was like, yeah,
Oh snap! So
yeah.
when you play video games, you were like
Uh,
that's where that competitiveness came from, right?
Yeah, back in the day, maybe 13, 14 years old, on my free time, that's boom, competitiveness through online gaming, stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now your mom has her own business,
she does.
and has she always been an entrepreneur?
My mom has, yeah, and she's one of my biggest motivations as well. Like, my motivators, very hardworking woman, gets up every single, day. And when I was younger, that was one of the things that I would always see. Like, no matter how she was feeling, like I would always see her get up and do her things. So that kind of did give me motivation and brought me, energy as well. Because I'm always with her, or I was always with her as a young child, so I would see her go after it, so I would have to go after it myself too.
I love that. So you learned a lot from your mom.
Yeah, yeah. My mother's been a big part of my life, and I'm very blessed to have my mother, be a part of my life. And
And what about your dad? What did you get from
yeah,
your dad?
yeah, my dad, same thing. A hard worker. Um, got up early, gets up early, and goes to work, does his thing. So I respect him as well.
What does
Yeah.
your dad do?
My dad's a manager at a truck shop.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And you have siblings?
I do. I have a brother.
That's right.
Yeah.
And how was your relationship growing up with your brother?
So we did have an age gap, 10-year difference or so.
Well, that's
So
big.
yeah, it is a big gap. So growing up, we weren't really, I wasn't really hanging out with him because I was 15, he was 5. So I was kind of doing my own thing, he was doing his own thing. But now we, he's 20, I'm 30.
Damn. No, I'm just kidding. I'm about to be 30 this year.
Getting
bro.
up there, getting up there. The big 3-0, big 3-0.
Yes, sir.
But no, now it's a lot cooler, We could go places together. I'll go grab a bite with him. We go to the beach, get a workout in, go to the gym, get a workout in.
So you guys
Yeah.
are close.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
I
nice.
talked to my brother.
And how different is he compared to you? Because 10 years, like my sister, we're 8 years apart.
Yeah.
She's 21, I'm 29, and she definitely grew up in a different generation.
Yeah.
Is your brother have that like new generation kind of like way of doing things, or is he more towards the generation that we grew up in?
Yeah, I would say he's more towards like the generation we grew up in. Like more of a classic type of guy. And I don't know, man. These new generations, like it's crazy out here what I see. And I can tell you, he's not involved in none of that, nonsense that I see going on here, nowadays. But then even, me myself, I feel like I'm a bit more of a classic person too. The way we dress, the way
That's
we
true.
do things,
That's true. The way you
Even I
conduct
see it in
yourself.
you too, a bit more of a
You know,
Yeah.
it was I grew up seeing my grandfather wearing suits, so
Mm.
I always liked that, you know. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, whatever I do in life, I want to one day be wearing suits and being a businessman. I didn't know what the hell that was gonna mean when I was young, but I just always liked that, man. It's just the way that men carry themselves when they wear suits, and where they shake hands the right way, when they look
Yeah.
into your eyes, and
Mm.
shoulders up high, and it's just how we're supposed to be, you know
It
what I
is.
mean? I don't
Yeah.
know when the hell that took a turn,
It took a
but
turn because not.
hey, but it's our advantage. It's
Yeah.
our advantage. It sets us apart. So
And like you say, it's the way it's supposed to be, but it's not like that everywhere.
a
So
lot has
it,
changed.
it
A
has.
lot by the way, where we're from, Colombia, there's men that are still like that over there, you
Yeah.
know. It's very traditional, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so you graduate high school, right, from
Uh,
Nova. What comes next after high school?
so after, man, it was a roller coaster of just personal life experiences, dating wise, life wise, a lot of hurdles, lot of hurdles, and I would say a lot of experience in life, and through that gap, you know, caused me to meet some people. In the actually insurance business, I worked for a lady for a little while. I was cold calling, you know, fronting, verifying calls over there for her. I was doing, you know, gigs on and off of here. And then that's when I decided, you know, I met a few people in real estate. And then that's when I decided to get my real estate license. So I've now been a licensed realtor for about 8 years or so.
Man,
Eight
that's
years
that's that's a
and
good amount of time, bro.
yeah.
So unpack that a little bit more in terms of after high school, the roller coasters, the ups and downs, the relationships. You know, what were those experiences like, and how did it shape you?
I would say those experiences shaped me in a way, you know, the roller coasters, and, you know, I could sit here for hours and just talk, you know, how I was day by day. But like a lot of heartbreak, that heartbreak, you know, molded me into, you know, pushing my workouts. Like I said earlier, like building new relationships with people without really too many expectations. So I'm not expecting for somebody, you know, to come by and fuck me over necessarily, but it's always like the possibility of being there. But like I said, not with every single person, but I've experienced it. So that's why going back, like it's more of the selective, and it's kind of like drawn me to just focus on myself day in and day out, regardless of whatever's there. Because I've also learned, you know, they'll tell you they'll love you today at 3 p.m. and by 5, like, they'll never want to talk to you again, you know? So based on those experiences, I've just learned on keeping on, you know, with my day to day, just forward with my own life.
Do you prejudge people when you meet them or no?
No, I always give, like, it's hard to judge a person right on, like, when you meet them. And I always give the person, you know, like, the better judgment until you prove me otherwise. So, like, if I don't really know you, I'm not going to sit here and judge you until you give me a reason to.
Right.
So that's kind of where I go, and then I take the decision of like, do I want to keep this person around or do I not? But then even then, I've seen red flags in people, and I'm like, you know what? Let me stick around. And then I'm kind of like, oof, I should have backed off a long time ago.
By the way,
But hey,
I'm like that too,
yeah.
and but it's not a bad thing because it shows that
No,
you give people, you know, second chances, and you give people a benefit of the doubt. It shows how good of a heart you have, because
I like giving people the benefit of the doubt, but I don't like giving people second chances. Yeah, it's tough, bro. With the second chances, at least from what I've experienced, it's a downhill
never
roller
goes
coaster.
well, huh?
Yeah, never. At least it's tough, you know. Like I was saying, I'm not gonna mention any names, but I was working with somebody early on in my career in real estate, and it was kind of like a partnership 50-50 type thing. And long story short, one day we had a handful of properties. One day I see one of them, like not any that we had signed, but one that we were prospecting together, go up on the market. The person was a lot more experienced than I was. You know, she had been doing real estate for quite a while. I hadn't really been in there too long, so she kind of went behind my back and took that, took that, and that's another, hurdle that I was like, I confronted her about it, and she was like, oh, well, you're newer, like, kind of like, what are you gonna do about it? And I was like, okay, I was like, fair enough. But then, funny enough, I stopped talking, to the person, and then a few months back, like later, like, oh, hey, John, let's go do something, let's do 50-50 again. And by that time, I'm like, no, yeah, you can't. When a snake bites you, you don't gotta let it around you a second time to let it bite you again. So that's kind of like the person I am. I give you the benefit of the doubt. I might not even know you, but today, let's say, if you were a realtor, let's go prospect together. Okay, we go prospect together, we get a deal. It's 50-50. I'm not expecting you to go snake me, but then you snake me one time, I'm not gonna let you do it again.
That's
Like,
you didn't have to say names, but clearly it's a girl, right? Because you mentioned it's a she. So any female real estate agents out there,
no, like I said, bro, it's not always like that. But you do have to be very careful with every
real
aspect.
Estate, it's
bro, it's cutthroat.
It can be very cutthroat.
Yeah, it's cutthroat. But
not to.
I've even had people call my clients, telling them that, yo, why are you working with this guy? You should have been working with me.
Oh,
when
wow.
we have, you're not supposed to even do that. But see, I'm not that type of person, If I'm prospect, let's say you tell me you want to sell your house and I'm prospecting you and you decide to go with somebody else, hey, no hard feelings. If it doesn't work out, just hit me up. And then I'll let you go do your thing, I'll keep track of the property, see what's going on, but I'm not going to be there like, yo, you made the wrong decision. Like, you should have chose me. You chose them. No, if you want to do what you want to do, you go do it.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
your focus is mainly residential?
My focus is mainly residential, yeah.
Mostly, is it mainly rentals, or is it sales of houses, or what is it?
So my main focus is prospecting to sellers, so listings for sale, but I help renters as well, buyers, landlords. So if you're looking to do anything and I see that you're serious and we have a conversation and we sit down and like, Sahid, where are you looking to go? Oh, I'm looking to go, to North Carolina.
Right here, bro.
Yeah, to Pier 66. All right, well, how important is that move to you? That's a very important move to me. Like, okay, great. Well, let's discuss it. Let's have a coffee. Let me come by your house. Let me see how I can help you. And then set the appointment, see how we can help them. And then, just take it from there. Or whether it's a renter, a seller, whoever, I'm there to just, if you need me and I can help you, I'm there.
And what made you, because real estate, it's tough, right? It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Like any entrepreneurship journey, but what made you stick out real estate for 8 years? Because that's a good amount of time doing a business or industry, bro.
It is. Well, at the beginning, it was tough. And even my first year, I rarely did anything. I was but I went to the office every single day. One thing I always did was get up in the morning, go hit my workout, hit my sauna, go to the office, and then analyze. And then I was, I would meet up with people nearby. They were doing open houses, talk to them like, hey, how are you getting business? How are you doing your things? And then over time, people, like one of my very first deals, it was actually a referral through an agent at the office. And it was a guy looking for a property in Edgewater. John, if you're watching this,
Shout out to John.
Now you know. And at the time, you got to act like you know what you're doing. So I'm not saying I didn't, but but he's like,
Fake it
yeah,
till you make it, bro.
I want something. Can you find me something? And I knew how to search the MLS. I didn't know that, so I sent them something at the 1800 Club in Edgewater, and he's like, all right, let's see it. I went down, I showed it to him. He's like, all right, I want it. I'm like, okay. And now I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Because right before that, my other rental was at the Whitney in downtown Fort Lauderdale. They take care of everything. You bring the client, you sign them up, and that's it. Next thing you know, they just call you, hey, where do you want this, check sent to? So you don't have to deal with nothing. So I was like, oh, that was easy enough. And then when I dealt with John, I remember I called this other girl that she was really cool. I should hit her up maybe one of these days to thank her, because I remember calling her about maybe 10 times to put a contract together for a rental, a memorandum to enter into a lease. And I must have called her, about 10 times. and you got to piece it together. You know, the offer, the proof of income, whatever, you know, report the landlord or listing agent is asking for. At the 1800 club, they also require, you know, an HOA application, helping the guy with the HOA application. One of the papers needed to be notarized, and he's from Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, and I remember he was going back to PA, and we needed one paper to be notarized. So he's like, bro, I got to be at the airport in like 30 minutes. I went down. I met him somewhere in like Wynwood. We went to it was a UPS, and we got the paper notarized. I went and then took that paper down to the HOA and got him approved. So it's all about the, you know, getting the lead and servicing the lead, and that's pretty much like what it comes down to, you know, giving the person the service. So that was, and then from there it was kind of like a stepping stone, because he referred me to his buddy Ryan, and Ryan, I don't think I have Ryan on socials. I know I have John, but Ryan wanted an apartment right next door at Edgewater at the Aria. So we got him a place there at the Aria, and same thing. But by then I kind of already knew, like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna copy what I just did on my last transaction. So then I copied what I did. The HOA is a little different, but it's almost all kind of the same. And then we got Ryan in there. Then little by little, you start gaining the confidence. Because before I'd give you my business card. Yeah, I'm a realtor, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. I didn't know there were scripts. I didn't know when you cold call, you had to say this. You had an objection handler alert, you know, for that. So then I started with the prospect and started the door knocking with the girl I was telling you about. So we were door knocking on people's, you know, doors, expireds, for sale by owners, people that had expressed interest that either selling right then and there or had put the property on the market before but never really sold. So that's kind of like what got my feet wet into the real estate stuff. And because at first my fear, my own cousins were renting stuff without me. You know, people that knew me, they didn't really even hit me up to do their own thing. But then that's kind of when I realized, I'm like, I can't really rely on, and then I've shifted my mentality since, because since, you know, 8 years ago, things have been different and people have reached out to me to buy, to help them sell. But at the beginning, it was kind of like I was letting people know, hey, I'm a realtor, hey, I'm a realtor, but nobody was really doing anything. And then I said, how am I gonna get some business today? So I gotta lose being shy. I have to stop letting rejection get to me. And you build it, like the calluses, you know, when you're doing pull-ups, you do 3 pull-ups, you might be sore the next day. You go back, you do 5, you go back, you do 20. Next thing you know, you're repping it out. And it's kind of like, I always take my workouts into my real estate world as well. Because it's in comparison to that, you know, and I say the more that you work out, or like the more that you do the calls, the more that you can sustain. I would say even sometimes it gets painful, you know, doing set after set. The other day, my hand ripped. I was doing pull-ups, my hand literally split open a little right here. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna, you know, like sit back and not do the work, or am I gonna bypass the pain and tell myself mentally it's just a little cut and keep going through it, you know? So I take that same thing into the real estate world. And sometimes I may go 1,000 calls and get nothing, or I may do 3 and get 2 leads out of it. So you never know.
It's a law of numbers. I mean, even in my business, it's like that, you know?
Yeah.
Man, I like just listening to you, bro. It's crazy how there's so many lessons in what you just went and spoke about. Like there's so many lessons of just grit, discipline, consistency, like mind over matter, like
mind over matter.
So much, you know, don't listen to yourself, speak to yourself, like the magic of positive thinking and all these things.
Yeah, positive thinking, positive. And you know, there's some days I wake up and I'm like, oh man, like I don't want to do this. And then I'm like, well, what else am I gonna do? Like I'm just gonna sit here and not do nothing? So I get up, stretch, hit a little workout. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling the motion. Oh, what time is it? Oh, let me go make some calls. Let me go do, you know, my things. Let me follow up. And I would say like before, and I'm not saying don't follow a schedule, but I'm like prioritize what you need. Like let's say you tell me, hey, I need to do something. I'm going to prioritize you before I start doing anything else. because I know, like, hey, so he told me he needs to move in 3 weeks. Like, I need to get him into somewhere now, because in most cases it may take you 3 weeks to get that approval.
Right.
So I need to be sure that I'm on point with that, and that comes with the discipline of the same thing. You know, just being there mentally for yourself, so you can be there mentally for other people. Because if you can't be there for yourself, it's hard to be there for other people.
That's
so
true.
I always
that
say,
word to yourself is very important.
Mhm.
It's part of your recreation.
yeah,
That's you know, I went through it. The I go through it sometimes too. Like you got to keep your word to yourself. Like, hey, I'm gonna do this,
yeah,
and coming through on that is very important. It builds confidence,
it
because
does.
it's like if you're willing to keep the word to yourself, you know, doing it for other people becomes very easy. Because it's very easy to give yourself a way out,
Oh, easy.
let alone other people. So
Yeah. No, I see people give themselves a way out every single day. Like, just make excuses. And I'm not saying, though, I'm a 100% disciplined guy. You know, there's one day where I may say, oh, you know, it's a nice day.
yeah, we're human,
I don't,
bro.
yeah. And that's another thing I love about real estate. Some days I may work 20 hours a day, but some days, like, I may decide that even after this, you know what? I'll do my calls later on in the afternoon. I'm 3 minutes away from the beach. Take my shirt off and go do a few pull-ups. And I love the freedom that comes behind that. The freedom that even, and I think, you know, Mark Cuban one day said this, that he'd rather work for himself, you know, doing, you know, whatever numbers he does, 50 hours a day or 50 hours or, you know, 80 hours a week, than go and work for somebody making $1 million working, you know, 20, 40 hours
Yeah,
a
I
day.
remember when he said that.
And I remember, you know, in the past, like, working and being like, oh man, like, I don't want to go today, but then I have to go today, because if not, I'm gonna get fired.
Right.
So, and like I said, in this case, what I love about real estate is I could also be working. I could be working right now as I'm right here. I pull out my laptop, send a couple emails, make a couple calls. I'll tell the client, they'll, hey John, how are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I'm doing perfect. I'm at Pier 66 right now, overlooking, you know, the intercoastal, Las Olas. Hey man, by the way, you know, we had that conversation the other day. What's going on with that? And then boom, I could be, you know. So I love the freedom that comes behind that. And this is where it's at. This is my office right here.
That's facts. By
Yeah.
the way, you like green, huh?
It's a nice color, right?
It's a very
just-
nice color.
oh, just
You
happens
got the
to match
green
me today.
phone, got the green blazer, looking good, man. Looking real good.
Thank you.
And so, what's your vision with real estate? Like, if I'm like, hey, man, sell me on your vision the next 10 years, you know, what are you telling me?
So my vision with real estate, another reason why I got into real estate is because I knew some people who were doing, you know, like buying and flipping. And that's one of the things that also, you know, like the investment side of it. I've met people who had, you know, 60, 70, 80 properties, and I always think that's, you know, also like another way, you know, to build wealth long term. And that's one of the things that like keeps me into real estate. As a realtor, I kind of help people, you know, in between, but I also create the vision of myself for, you know, my long term plan in the real estate business. So it's as of right now, you know, I'm an agent, but I don't plan on being an agent for the rest of my life. Like, I don't personally, like, for me, like when I'm 55, 60 years old, like right now, like it's cool being in the hustle, you know, in and out of properties, showing rentals here, showing rentals there. But personally, like when I'm 60, I have another, like, you know, other plans that I like in between, you know, now until then, to build that. So, like I said, I don't want to be showing rentals when I'm 65 years old, man. But so I got to create the plan, and I've been creating, you know, a little bit of motion here and there with, you know, the exit plan. And I always think, you know, as you're, you know, building the calluses and the discipline, and as you start stacking, you know, the wins through life, that you start, you know, planning that end goal as well. Because as you know, like with real estate, like it could either go really bad or really, you know, good. So like there's agents that I know that like they kind of think this is like a get rich quick type of scheme thing, but they're not there. They don't realize sometimes you may go weeks without nothing, but sometimes you may make a lump sum, and you know that holds you off for a while. It's somebody's salary. So you kind of have to build, and it teaches you things as well. Because I feel like as you go through some of these situations, you start analyzing and thinking the way that, like, if I put this deal together, once it closes, like, what's the next move? And before, I would say, like, as I was a newer agent, man, I'd go spend money that I didn't even have, because I was like relying on, oh, this is going to close, and the day of closing, the buyers don't show up.
I think
Then I'm like, oh man,
we
I'm
all
like,
go through that.
I'm like, oh, wait, what happened? And then I realized, I'm like, you can't, like, always know it's coming, but you got to kind of be, proactive with the way that deals happen. And the lessons behind the deals and keeping the deals together. Like, for example, I had one property. I'll never forget that property, man, because it had me up, it had me down. The emotional swings of just the way that things unravel. It's it was quite a ride. And then you, like, as you're trying to deal with personal life, relationships with your significant other. Well, I don't have nobody right now, but at the time, you're trying to deal with one thing, deal with the next. At the same time, your client's like getting ready to fire you when it's not even your fault. So I had one property in Hollywood. Met the lady through cold calling. And that property, it taught me so many lessons. And I've learned quite a few lessons before that. And I've also had lessons even after that. But that property took me, through the ups and downs of what it is to actually, be a realtor, and what it is to, keep your composure. Because if I would have just said, you know what, like, all right, done, I would have lost that. So keeping the composure, keeping your clients, in that calm state of mind, I feel like that's another, they always say as a realtor, you wear 1,000 different hats. And sometimes you just got to be like a therapist in a way, and kind of, help your client keep your composure. So I had a lady, she called me, I met her cold calling, but I was sending her letters, back and forth, sending her stuff to the house. I think one time I even dropped off a little box of chocolates, just to show my appreciation.
What kind of chocolates?
Just a little, like, what do they call it? The little Lindors, or the little...
Rochers?
It was something like that.
The little gold ones?
Yeah, something I just got on the go. I was like, you know what? Let me stop by and say hello.
My man.
And so one day I'm just laying in bed and I'm thinking, I'm like, man, how am I going to get my next deal? And my phone starts ringing and I'm like, oh, hey. And she's like, oh, I'm ready to sell. I'm like, all right, perfect. But even then, it wasn't even guaranteed. So I actually, and this is a lesson that teaches me how to be patient and how to put, like, the perspective on moving forward with a sequence that you have to follow, and not just go based off emotion. So I went to go meet the lady the day of, unprepared, no nothing. A few hours after she called me, which was already a rookie move on my behalf. And I had been to tons of listing appointments before, so I don't even know why I did it like that. But you kind of just get into the rush. Okay, let me go meet her. So I went to go meet her, and I didn't get the appointment, and that was a Saturday. The following day, I said, you know what, I can't let this go. So I called her, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to touch base, see what your thoughts were of my presentation. She was like, oh, well, I felt like you came unprepared. So I agreed with her. I wasn't going to argue with her because I did go unprepared. So I said, hey, Linda, you know what? I was like, you're right. I went unprepared, and I apologize. I'd like a second opportunity. And she's like, okay, I'll give it to you. I was like, all right, great. She was like, yeah, I'm also interviewing some other people. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I was like, when can I come back again? So she let me come by a few days later, and a few days later, she was still hesitant. But I was like, what are you hesitant on? She was like, oh, well, I don't really like what you're saying. I want this, 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 and that, and you're telling me, something else. And I was like, oh, so the length of the, what we agreed on, like, what is it that you want to do? And she told me what she wanted to do, and I was like, I kind of went over, what she wanted, and I was like, is this what you want? She was like, yeah. I was like, all right, so let's work together. And then boom, she signed it. That's not even the, the end of it. So we put the property on the market. An agent comes, inspection comes in. They want like 40 or 50,000 off that, like the price. She's like, no, I'm not doing it. Okay, so cancel the contract. We go back on the market. We go under contract with another agent. Oh man, that was even worse. Same thing. Back on the market. By the second time, she's like, John, I don't really think this is working out between us. And that's when I knew. I was like, it's psychological. I got to keep my composure. I said, hey, Linda, I said, everything that happened, I can't control it. But, I don't even have that much time with you anymore because time had passed by. So I told her, I was like, we don't even have that much time. Let me just ride out the rest of the agreement that we have, and then you can make your decision. How does that sound? She was like, oh, okay. She was like, all right, you've been sweet. You've been kind to me. Let's go ahead. We'll do it that way. So now we're on the market. It was on a Sunday. A buyer calls me direct, and he's like, hey, I'm outside of this home. I see a sign out front. Can you show it to me? And I was like, yeah, we can go and see it. So, but her rule was no showings on Saturdays or Sunday. So I was like, oh, man. I called her, and she's like, oh, no, you know the rule. And I'm like, I'm running out of time. And I was like, I don't have no more time. I was like, let me at least allow to, show it today. And she was like, all right, I'll allow it. So
Nice lady,
yeah,
bro.
nice lady. So 10 minutes in, I show them the property, and after we see it, he comes by with his wife. He's like, you know what? I'll let you know. So even then, it wasn't finished because now it's a direct buyer. Now I'm the one, kind of dealing with the buyer. I'm the one dealing with the seller. And, you gotta, as transaction brokers, we gotta kind of put the deal together. So putting that deal together, the way that it happened is the Monday came around, Tuesday came around, Wednesday came around. I called him every single day. Called him every single day. Thursday came around and he's like, all right, man, let's put in the offer. I said, all right, cool. And so we put, the property together. And he paid cash for it. We closed. She moved on up north, to the Daytona area. And he got the property he wanted to get. So, and then I was able to put the deal together. So it was keeping my composure throughout the whole way. Because the day that she was like, oh, the day we fell out of the second contract, she was ready to fire me and all upset. So I could have just, if I would have let my emotions get to me and would have just been like, all right, whatever, I don't want to work with you either, I would have missed out on helping her sell the home and helping the buyer buy it. So real estate has taught me that patience, keeping your composure.
And how long was that process?
That process,
start to finish.
That process from start to finish, from the time we listed it to the time we closed, was about 2 months. About 2 months, yeah. And same thing, the emotional roller coaster that you ride through with the deals falling apart. Because now the clients they're always blaming, the agent. Oh, the deal fell apart. We're blaming you. Well, hey, look, they don't want to put the deal together. I can't put a gun to somebody's head and tell them, hey, you got to close on this property. So it teaches you things.
And then during that time when you were going through that, what kept you so patient?
The end goal.
What was your mindset?
My mindset was that I have to close this deal. I have to, I know she wants to sell. I know the guy wants to buy. I'm the person in between. I have to get it done. And that's kind of like when I get into something, it has to get done. We just got to do it.
Okay. Let's talk about a mentor. Do you have a mentor?
I would say I have a handful of mentors and a handful of people that, I rely on. I wouldn't necessarily say rely on, but people that have helped me out. There's agents that I know that they sell $100 million a year out here. And this is the type of properties they sell. And that's one of my goals, and I always take them into consideration when I have anything big going on or I just need advice. I feel like they're my lifeline in a sense. So yeah, I would say a handful of mentors.
And what are the biggest lessons that those mentors have taught you?
Being those mentors, It depends the type of lesson it is. Um, I've had mentors, tell me like my mind is just scattered right now with all the information that I've ever received. So that's kind of why I'm just thinking.
What is, like, for example, if you were to look back at a situation in your life where you reached out to your mentor and your mentor gave you guidance, and then from that guidance, like,
Doing
you
the right
had
thing.
exponential growth, like, what was that?
Doing the right thing, telling people the truth, just staying by your word. And I feel like that's even if it's not related to like real estate in general, it's related to life. Well, it does relate to real estate. Be truthful, be respectful, always tell the clients the truth, and I feel like that has taken me a long way. And there's been times where like I may sit down with you and you tell me your situation, and somebody else may tell you, oh yeah, no, we could do it. And I'm gonna sit down with you and tell you like, hey, look, based on what you're telling me, let's sit down and analyze what you want to do. You want to do, you want to sell this, you're gonna net this much, but this is, these are your plans. I don't want to waste your time. Like, this is the truth of your situation, and then I want you to take the decision on whether you think it's right for you or not. And then there's been times where I've had to not take deals because of that.
Wow.
So yeah, there's been times where I'm like, it's not gonna benefit you. I don't want to do it. I don't.
Wow, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
You want kids?
Yeah, I do.
How many kids?
I've always thought at least like 5.
5 kids?
Yeah, like 5
My
kids.
man.
Yeah.
Starting 5, huh? You want a whole
Yeah.
basketball team.
A little basketball.
That's what's up, man. And why do you want to have kids?
Bro, I feel like it's always been a part of me that I've wanted, but I haven't had.
Okay.
So right now, like, I'm still in the building phase of, going through the hurdles, and every day it's a brick by brick. Every day that's kind of like how I wake up, just thinking like today, it's a new day, it's a new brick that I have to go lay for my future foundation, and it's just something that like it's instilled in me that I have to just keep doing. And also finding the right person. Finding the right person. I know so many, even personal acquaintances, that they've had people with, people that I don't agree they should have had kids with, and it just goes downhill. And even they tell me, like, oh man, I wish I never, like, not had the kid, like, in a certain way. Like, they want to have the kid, but with the person they had it with, it's kind of like, oh man, like, they made my life miserable, I've known people who, like, have been sent to jail because of their significant others. Or people who, oh, I haven't even been able to see my kid in 2 months because of so-and-so. So I'd hate to put myself in those shoes. I just haven't really found, I would say, like, the right connection for it to happen. So I'm just out here building my life day by day until I come across the right person,
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And so what kind of girls you into, bro?
I've dated a few different girls here and there. I've dated, Colombian girls, Russian girls.
Russian?
Yeah.
Okay, my man.
Yeah, Russian girls, Brazilian girls.
Some Volonskis.
I would say, like, I don't necessarily, like,
What are the qualities you look for in a woman?
Respectful. Respectful is the biggest, one of the biggest keys. And I've had to learn that the hard way. I've had to learn that the hard way. And the way she is, with other people, the genuine, kind of just, yeah, honestly, like, to me, respect is a big key. Her being kind, and it's different because every woman's different, Every woman's different. I've dated, I'm not going to say I've dated a million girls, but I've dated, quite a few, and everyone has their own, different character traits.
And what are your non-negotiables?
My non-negotiables?
Personal, business, family.
Like, always standing on your word. Always standing on your word, always doing it. And I'm not going to lie, like, I've learned this through sometimes even losing people, that, like, oh, I wasn't too committed, or I wasn't, like, I would say I'm going to do something and I don't do it. And then that has kind of, like we were saying, those experiences mold you into becoming like, oh man, I don't want to go through that experience again. So now I have to build what it is that I say I'm gonna do, or do what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, keeping your word is
Keeping
big,
keeping your
bro.
word, yeah, keeping your
Huge, man.
word big.
Huge.
Doing what it is that you say you're gonna do. Um, and that's kind of like my biggest thing right now.
I love it, man.
Um,
So let's talk a little bit about dreams, man. What's the dream house look like? What's the dream car looks like? What does the dream experiences look like? What does the dream destination look like?
so right now, I would say the process is the dream, and before I would try to escape, like, oh, I don't want to do this, and then I realized it's a privilege to do what I'm doing. It's a privilege, even if it's not the best day, but I'm out here doing what I get to do. I'm out here breathing this beautiful air, So every day I say, but the end goal, a nice penthouse over here. Pure 66 is a dream.
This is
We're
a dream.
5.8 right now. This is a dream.
This is a dream.
I
Bro.
wouldn't mind waking up to this, working out right here on my balcony, while the M5 is downstairs.
M5.
M5,
Okay,
nothing too
okay.
crazy.
M5. That's
Maybe
not
the
a bad
Ducati,
choice.
ride it out on a nice day with the
So
fam.
you're more of a penthouse type of guy than a house type of guy?
It all depends. These are usually like secondary properties, or vacation properties. Condos are nice. I do like, let's say, like if I had to choose out of all places, if I had unlimited money right now, and you told me like you gave me a bag with 30 mil, just go do whatever you want to do, I'd probably choose somewhere like Southwest Ranches.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a
somewhere
good choice.
Yeah.
What about so M5 is a dream car?
Well, I like BMWs. M5 would be like the daily.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's the
the
like if
daily.
money wasn't an issue, what's your car?
I'd probably get like a Brabus, like
Ooh.
G-Wagon or
Okay.
something like
you
that.
like some
Yeah.
big boy stuff.
Yeah.
I like
Those
that,
are-
bro. Some mafia, Russian mafia type of car, huh?
Those cars have always called, like
Big boss cars.
yeah, like I've always liked those cars
That's what's up. So nice penthouse, the M5 daily, the Brabus.
for the weekends.
What about
So-
vacation, bro? What's your dream vacation?
My dream vacation, to be honest, I've never really sat down and had a dream vacation. My dream vacation, as I think I speak about it, talk about it right now, would probably be. It's a tough call. It's a tough call. There's so many places in the world that are so beautiful that I'd like to go to. And I would say, like, when I'm ready to take that vacation, like, my spirit, my soul will tell me what that dream is,
Are you open for feedback? Like, can I give you feedback?
Yeah, man, give it to me.
You gotta dream more, bro. You gotta dream more. Because as an entrepreneur, that's what makes hard days easier. Like when people ask me, man, what's your dream? Like dream house, dream car, dream. Like I try to get as detailed as possible, where it fires me up and excites me. Where when those hard days come, it's almost like, bro, this is what I'm going for. I'm going after this house that looks like this on the inside, that looks like this on the outside, that has this type of pool, that has this type of backyard. I'm going after the 10-car garage that has this amount of cars and this amount of motorcycles in it, and the vacation to the Maldives by the time my wife's 35 is $40,000 for 7 days. Like, when I think about going to Monaco, to the Monaco Grand Prix, and I'm off of the $40 million yacht, and like I'm going after that. So dreams, it's so important for an entrepreneur.
Oh no, for sure.
And defining, and the more clear you are about it, the easier the path becomes. One of the words that we always talk about is clarity.
Yeah.
Man, clarity is so important because it's easy to coast. It's easy to just wake up and do enough. It's easy to just wake up and I have this listing, or I have this policy that I'm going to submit and pays out, or so the more dreams and the more goals and the higher you go and the bigger you think, the more you're willing to do. So when it goes from 1,000 calls to now being 2,000 calls, the difference is not the work, it's the dreams. So I challenge you to dream. bigger, you know? And I challenge you to, I have a journal. Like, I literally have a journal. It's called My Rich Life. And it asks questions, and it asks very detailed questions. But it also reverse engineering your way of thinking. Like, how do you see money? You know, when you think about money, what kind of feelings come to you? When you think about, when, if you receive $1,000 opposed to $100,000, how different are you acting? How different are your spending habits? So all these things, man, clarity is so important, and clarity comes when those dreams are very set in stone. Like, the difference between someone saying, hey, what's your dream house? You know, I just want a big house, to, yeah, man, my house is going to look like this. Like, when you come up into the driveway, this is the water fountain that you're going to see. And the statue that comes out of it is the Ferrari logo. And as soon as you whip around the driveway, the first thing you're going to see is the entry of the house. And you can see through the house where you see the backyard. And the moment you walk in, the first thing you see to the right is the garage. And the garage is all glass, where you see my collection of Ferraris, and you see So the more detailed you get, bro, like, the more excited and fired up you are.
Oh no, for sure. No, I'm not saying that, like, I don't have, dreams.
No, you have dreams.
Yeah.
But fucking sell me on it, bro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sell me on the dream, because it's an attractive quality for any entrepreneur to be clear on where they're going. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh no, for
where
sure.
you going? What's your vision? What are you accomplishing? Who are you in the next 10 years? You know, what conferences are you speaking at? Who are you empowering? What does your team look like? What does life look like? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no, I know what
I
you're
even
saying.
sell it with the Cigars and Leaders, right? It's like, bro, that thing's gonna be massive, bro. Members only. One day we're gonna have a standalone cigar lounge called Cigars and Leaders, where it's literally strictly for members, where we're going there, big business and transactions are happening, and you know, everybody's got to pay a membership, and then we have people that are coming in and speaking to the group. And so that excites me, bro. You know, so when you have those hard days and those tough days, only thing you can fall back on is those dreams, bro. Like,
Oh no, like, and I know exactly where you're coming from as well, and so, and I do have them written down. Only thing, this is going, online. I don't really like. I like going back to, being, not that I want to be more secretive. I'm just on the low until they come into fruition. But I have I've read books where they make you write down the 10, goals that you have for the year, the 10 goals that you have for the 10 years. They're all written down,
nice.
in my journal, where I have, like, the goal of how much I want to make, the goal of where I want to go, goal of, what I want to drive, what I'm going to accomplish
So
throughout
what's tell me the first one. How much money you want to make by when?
Well, no, see, that's the thing. So in one of the books, it says not to tell the public. It says not to tell, out loud. So, but we'll have another discussion.
It's
when
interesting because the way I process it, it's almost like, if I'm gonna say it and vocalize it, it's almost like I'm giving the commitment to the world, and it applies more pressure to myself to come through. Because, like, one thing is telling the boys, yeah, bro, this is how much money, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And one thing is, like, telling the world, like, because it puts more pressure. It's like, oh, shit, I just told the world that this is how much money I'm going to make. Like, I better come through, because my word matters the most. So it's very interesting. By the way, I love the name of the It says Bad Company. I just noticed that.
They're doing some bad stuff.
They're doing some bad things, bad company, right? But yeah,
so,
man.
And I respect your point of view, and I guess we all have our own ways of viewing things, and and putting things out there into the world.
Everybody's
like,
journey.
See, I'm kind of like, over time, it's been more of process. Boom, the result pops up, and now I'm able to speak, about it more freely. Like, even with some of my deals, like, nobody knew that I was going through some other things until, it closed, So that's kind of just the person that like I am. And
well, that comes from what we spoke about earlier, that so much has happened to you where you're reserved about certain things. It's not a bad thing, by the way. It's not a bad thing. That's why, leading up to how someone paints their dreams and their vision, it tells me a lot about, like, what someone's gone through. because I used to be like that. I used to be very like, man, like every time I would tell, it's called the bad eye. People put the bad eye on you.
Yeah. No,
But that's where faith comes in, where it's like
oh no, I
God's,
pray every day.
bro,
I
God's
pray
the
every day.
best planner,
Yeah.
the perfect planner
No,
was
he is.
written for you,
He is.
gonna be yours. So it's
Yeah.
like, if I vocalize it and the bad eyes after me, man, my faith is gonna surpass that. So I know that whatever is for me is meant for me and it's gonna come. So it's just interesting, right? Like the way
Yeah.
everybody views things and the way that everybody like processes
The way that
things.
exactly. See, like with me, I'm more of like, let me do this in the background. When it comes up into fruition, boom. Hey guys, look. Through the hard work and dedication and everything that we've been able to build, this is the dream home. Here's the dream whip. This is what we have going on. Here's the, the dream, watch. Here's everything, unfolding and going into, into fruition. So that's kind of like, I see we have, kind of a little bit of a different mentality when it comes to that. But then even then, some of my mentors, they've told me, they're like, like, it's better to lay low and do your things, on the low. And this is coming from people who sell, millions of dollars worth of real estate. But it may be also their way of thinking. There's people who,
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
There's people out there who they don't like, they want to show it. And then there's people who I know that are like very reserved and you wouldn't even know. Like you meet this person on the street, you never know, their amount of wealth.
That's very
until
true.
they vocalize it,
That's
to you,
true.
until they tell you. But they're not telling the world. They're kind of just
Right.
letting, a select
I think it's
few.
like you said it. It's the mentor, right? Like I think where you get your advice shapes your mindset and how you are. With me, it's like, you got Patrick Bet-David, where he literally built a company based on vision of where he was going, right? Like, hey, one day we're gonna have X amount of people at a conference. We're gonna have presidents, comedians. We're gonna have 500,000 licensed agents. Where it was a small company that nobody knew about. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's attractive for people when you're building a team of like, hey, where are you going? Like, what's your vision? You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
imagine trying to like move a group of people of like, this is where we're going, and not saying what it is that we're doing or where we're going. So I think it just depends on the models and what you're doing, what you're building, and who your mentor is, and the processing. Everybody's different.
No,
you know?
everybody is
Now,
different. And
it's not right or wrong. I think both perspectives are right, and both perspectives can teach a lesson and provide guidance for people depending on the type of personality that you have.
yeah,
You know?
no, like you said, there's no right or wrong. And I'm more than open to sharing like with you what I have written down. I'm just not gonna, share it on
By the
camera
way,
right
it makes
now.
me feel special. So
Yeah.
the public won't know about it, but I would. I'm
The
excited.
public, will be TBD. The TBD to the public, but I'm more than open. And through the books that I've read, the masterminding, a handful of people, we sit down, like, what's going on? What's pushing? What's pushing you this week? What do we got to accomplish this week? Did you accomplish it this week? Like, what happened? Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
So, I have a couple people who we keep each other accountable, and every day it's, pushing forward. And, you don't, like I said, every day I'm not going to beat you up because you didn't do everything you said that you weren't going to do. But if you
Right.
did 80% of it, you're better off than you were last week by not doing none of it.
That's
so,
true.
like, you did this, and that, but you didn't do this? Well, hey, look, listen. Well, why not? This came up, I wasn't feeling so great today. Like, all right, man, you know what? I want you to go get the workout, go hit the plunge, and go do, what you said you were going to do. And then even myself, sometimes I got to tell myself that, like, oh, man, I did this, and that. This is one of my last tasks. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do it. Let me hit the plunge. Let me hit the sauna. Let me do something. Bye, let me get that task. And then, when you're in that mental state of just, boom, get it done. So, yeah, man, I'm kind of like behind the scenes kind of guy, Like, there's a lot of people right now doing the cold calls and showing the way, that they cold call. And
I've seen that.
Yeah, so, and that's how I've been getting most of my stuff. Right now I have 6 active listings, and 3 of them came from, cold calling. So, but maybe I should start putting it public, because people like that. People like to see some of that stuff. But
Sometimes people love the journey more than they love the result.
yeah,
You know,
so
because they can relate to it. Like, damn, like there's somebody out there that cold
that
calls the way that you do.
yeah,
And when they see you on camera making the calls, hearing what people say and how you react towards it, you're
yeah.
instilling belief into other people because someone else is doing the same thing as you.
And you know that so I have like these masterminds that I join, and it's like select group of people, and even through Vulcan 7, there's on Facebook, Take 52, and I hop in there, and same thing. I'm not one to say much. One of my last brokers, she was my mentor. She listed like 20, 30 million, in 1 year, just straight off of cold calling, and like I'm always behind the scenes, just seeing like what's going on, and that motivates me. Like, so, like, when I see it, I'm like, oh, it's possible. It's there for
Yeah.
for the happening. For the taking. And then it's like abundant world, bro. There's so much business to go out there.
So much, bro.
Like so much. So sometimes, like when people like, and that's the mindset that I'm in. Like it's an abundant world. There's so much to get out there that like we don't have to really compete against one another. We can be in competition in a sense of like, oh, let you go close 10 deals, I go close 10 deals or whatever. But, dude, if you wanted to, and I wanted to, we couldn't even call the whole city of Fort Lauderdale right now. I could download 100,000 numbers. I'd barely get through 1,000 today. And that's enough to go, around. So that's another thing, just having the abundant mindset and knowing that it's out there. And that's another thing that, just like sometimes people think, oh, I'm not going to share tips or tricks because it's all for me. But you can't take it all for you,
Right.
even if you wanted to.
There's plenty go around. I
Yeah.
mean, we spoke about that earlier. Like, it's so much money out there to be made, and there's so much money for anybody and everybody as long as you want to come in and apply that work ethic, apply the discipline, be willing to go through the stuff and stay focused, stay locked in.
Consistent. Consistency is key. And I used to have a really hard problem with it. And even then, this day, I wouldn't say I'm 100% consistent, but the consistency, day in, day out, is what drives you. And even if it's like, there's a photo the other day I saw, on social, and it's like 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%. 90% is better than the cup's full, better than 0, 0, 0, 0. So it's like even if you're only 50% consistent today, that still pushes you forward to the next day, and today might give you the momentum where you get a win, and now tomorrow you're at 80%, 90%. You may be 100% consistent
well, they say
tomorrow.
If you get 1% better every day, by the end of the year, you're 365% better than you were at the beginning. So it's just the daily grind of how can I improve, one day after the next.
Yeah.
Man, we've been going for a good hour and 10 minutes, man.
Hour and 10.
It feels like 10 minutes, bro.
Yeah.
That's how it is. But leave everybody with the last message. What do you want to tell the world? What piece of advice can you give somebody out there you've been in real estate 8 years, somebody is in their first month, what advice can you give them? And I'm excited for part 2 because every video I'm doing right now is part 1. There's going to be part 2, part 3. So there's going to be more to come from you in the future. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
but what
I'll
piece
be
of
waiting for
advice
that
can you tell somebody just brand new getting started in the industry?
As a brand new agent, and even when I was brand new, I would say help other agents. Some of my deals have come from me, like one of my mentors. He doesn't touch $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 properties. He's on up selling these type of properties. So if he needs help with something, he'll call me. Hey, John, I have somebody who wants to sell a property. Do you want to talk to them? Sure. So I've helped, I would say referrals and networking is probably one of the bigger ways to get in. And until you're able to, I would go to people's, let's say you were an agent. I'm not doing anything today. I'm trying to get my feet wet. You have an inspection you need me to attend. Okay. You have a photo shoot you need me to attend. Okay. A walkthrough you need me to attend. All right. I'm going to do those things for you. And I'm not expecting anything in return. But over time, it does build, like a compound of they take you into consideration. And some of those deals have led me on when I had nothing going on, earlier in my career, that when I didn't know, like, man, how to cold call, when I didn't know, like, how to talk to people, let's say, in a way that I can convert easy. Because there have been appointments where I've gone on a ton of appointments. Believe it or not, you need to know how to enter into the house. You need to know where to go. You need to know where to put your things on the kitchen, table in order for you to convert. Like if you go in and you just wing it, forget about it. So that's another thing I would say is practice, 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 script, role play. I have agents that I call somebody right now, be like, hey, I'm looking for, so-and-so. And they already know what time it is. They're like, oh yeah, how can I help you? And I'm like, well, hey, listen, I saw your property just came off the market, da-da-da. And they go through with it. And that kind of helps me, like practice to engage. So I would say practice, 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 and network, practice, network. And when the like agents need you, be out there with no expectation, because when you least expect it, hey, John, I just closed the rental the other day where I got the tenant and, the landlord. And that was through an agent that called me, and she's like, oh, I no longer do real estate, but I have a landlord who needs some help. Do you want him? I'm like, yeah, sure. She put me in touch with him. The property's right off Marina Mile. I listed it. A tenant called me through Zillow. I answered the phone to the tenant. Hey, how can I help you? She's like, oh, I see you have this property. Can I see it? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So boom, we just closed January 15th, 5 days ago. So got the tenant in there, and I helped the landlord, and that all came from an agent that I may have helped with, because nowadays and I'm not talking bad about the older agents, but the older agents, that they'll, hey, John, how do you do this? And I'm like, oh, click, 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 that. Oh, wow, it was that easy? So, and yeah, all right, thank you. All right, no problem. And a week later, hey, John, somebody wants to do something. Can you help them out? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So no matter how big, how small, I've had people give me listings for sale, through that. Other agents that don't want anything in return, that they just say, just call them, just make sure you treat them good.
Wow.
And that would be the main key that I would say here is like, and let your ego and your pride like to the side, because sometimes when you're too, like prideful, too, like your ego's too big, it kills, deals. And nobody wants to be dealing with an asshole. So, like, well, there's people who like it though. There's people who do like it. But I would say those are like, like masochist people. Like they, like, there's people that they want you to kind of like treat them bad. Like,
yeah.
Smack them around a little.
My man.
But I would always say, just answer your phone and be polite to people and see how you can help them and solve their problems. People are reaching out to us to solve problems. I helped a buyer earlier this year, and he called me. So originally we were working out, my boy. Oh, you know him, we were working out the other day at the beach. Think you met him.
Oh, yeah. He always comes, yeah.
So him and we went to school together. And about maybe a year ago, we started, I taught him, doing muscle ups and dips and working out, calisthenics. And I'm like, man, I love calisthenics. Let me reach out to him. Let me see how, we can work. So we met up at the park. We ran some hills, Vista View, at the beach. We were running, and he's like, John, I'm thinking about buying a property. And I'm like, okay. So as we were, meeting up to work out, I was letting him know, like, hey, look, these are the steps that you have to take. You have to get pre-approved. You have to talk to the lenders. You have to do this, and that. And I wasn't pressuring him, but I was there to help him when he needed, what he needed. John, I talked to a lender. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. How can I start the process? For buyers, I have consultations in my office, let them know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to help them, how they could hire me, to give them, the service. And I found him a beautiful property, bro, where, he actually gutted it, made it his own. And that's where he was. And I helped him, close that this year. And that came through, just meeting up with my buddy to work out,
Wow.
And letting him know, like, if you want to do this, these are the steps you need to take. And whenever you're ready, I'm ready. That's what I always tell people. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
Very genuine.
Yeah, and if you're ready right now, and I think he was testing me. I think he might have tested me, because there was one where he was like, oh, I spoke to the lender, this and that. I don't know. I think I'm going to hold off. And I was like, bro, no problem. If you want to hold off, listen, whenever you're ready, I'm going to be here. So just think about me. And then the next day he calls me. He's like, all right, bro, let's do it. I'm like, all right, bro, let's do it. So, yeah. And being there, giving them the service, and that's my take, you know, for these people.
That was great, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for
Appreciate you
making
too.
this happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Right now, we're about to shoot some content of the house, like do
Yeah.
some cool videos, man. So
5.8.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you
Yeah.
for this. This was
Thank
great,
you.
bro.